Director of Campus Experience, Rob Gilmore.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Prospective Parent Chat here at Sacred Heart University. Again, my name is Rob Gilmore, Director of Campus Experience in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. On behalf of all of us in the university community, it's our pleasure to come to you live to have the opportunity to answer many of your questions. And first and foremost, we hope that you and your families are all doing well and had a safe and healthy Thanksgiving holiday. Tonight, I'm joined by several members of the university community who are here to answer your questions, and we're going to go through and quickly introduce all of them to you this evening. First and foremost is our Executive Director of Undergraduate Admissions at Sacred Heart and a fellow alumnus of mine from the class of 2007, Pam Pillow. Good evening, Pam.
Hello, Rob, and hello, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time to join this evening. It's an honor to be here with you. As Rob said, I am the Executive Director for Undergraduate Admissions here at Sacred Heart University. I'm a two-time alum, former varsity tennis player, and I've been part of the university professionally for about 11 years now. So it's an honor to be here with you. I look forward to covering some topics about the admissions process and also answering your questions.
All right. We also have several of our university members who are joining us tonight virtually so that we can all stay safe during this time. I'd like to introduce them. First, start with the Executive Director of Public Safety at Sacred Heart, as also the Executive Director of Government Affairs. Please welcome Gary McNamara. Good evening, Gary.
Rob, thank you so much for inviting me. I look forward to a great conversation on how public safety contributes to the overall atmosphere and mission at Sacred Heart University. So I look forward to the conversation as well as any questions I can help answer.
Great to have you here, Gary. Thank you. Next is our Dean of Students at Sacred Heart University, Larry Wilk. Good evening, Larry.
Us tonight. I look forward to a lively chat, and hopefully we'll be able to answer all of your questions that you have. And in particular, I will be answering those that pertain to student life outside of the classroom. So again, I look forward to hearing from you all tonight, and hopefully it'll be a great evening.
Thank you, Larry. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Amanda Mraz, who is the Assistant Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences for Student Success. She's also a member of our Sociology Department at Sacred Heart. Good evening, Amanda.
Hi, Rob. Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to answering all of your questions. I can be really helpful in answering any questions about students' classroom experiences, academic experiences, advising, and just generally speaking, how Sacred Heart is committed to supporting our students' success throughout the curriculum and in kind of conversation with Larry and our teammates on the other side.
All right. Thank you so much, Amanda. And finally, I'd like to introduce the Executive Director of Student Financial Assistance at Sacred Heart, Julie Savino, who I'm guessing is going to be a very popular person tonight and talking about the 8 options for those of you applying to Sacred Heart. Good evening, Julie.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you here tonight. I'm hoping to be able to answer some of your questions regarding financing higher education. I know that that's obviously to many parents the ultimate concern. I'm also a two-time alum of Sacred Heart University, and I'm also the proud parent of a Sacred Heart alumni as well. So I've been part of the Sacred Heart community for over 40 years, and I can't think of a better place to be. So I look forward to our conversation this evening.
Thank you, Julie. Before we get to all of your questions, we do want to quickly go through the most pertinent information, and that is the application deadlines for this year. Many of you who are watching today are current seniors in high school, and you are going through probably one of the most unique and challenging admissions process in modern history. And we fully understand that here at Sacred Heart. You are going through a time that you are uncertain about your classes and your grades, and there is a lot of anxiety, and we certainly are here to help you with all of that. And that's really the purpose of some of what we're going to do tonight. But I'd like to go over the admissions process with you right now with Pam, our Executive Director of Admissions here at the university, and go through some of the pertinent deadlines that are important to you before we get to those questions that you're all submitting. So Pam, we have in the midst right now of the app deadlines, and we are a Common App institution. And let's quickly go through the application deadlines for those who are watching us. So can you talk about our first deadline, which is less than 5 hours away at this point, and that's tomorrow for early decision.
That's correct, Rob. So I think first and foremost, we have a number of application options. Our first of which is early decision. The deadline is tomorrow, December 1st. Early decision is the binding application. So this option is for candidates that might consider Sacred Heart to be the first choice, maybe because of our academic program of interest. Maybe they're a varsity athlete or interested in one of our performing arts, but for whatever variety of factors, they've decided Sacred Heart University is their number one choice, and pending admission to Sacred Heart, they will commit to the institution. So tomorrow is that deadline, December 1st for early decision. But we have a few other options as well. The next application deadline is December 15th. That is Early Action 1. Early Action 1 tends to be our most popular application deadline. It is also the deadline for anyone pursuing our College of Nursing. So if you're interested in becoming a nurse and earning your RN license, December 15th is the appropriate deadline for that as well. So candidates who apply by December 15th for Early Action 1 typically learn of their admission by the end of January. And after that, we have Early Action 2. So for candidates who want to take a little bit more time, build their application file, maybe get some more grades in from this semester, you can apply for Early Action 2. That deadline is February 1st, and we will notify candidates by February 15th. After the 1st of February, we review all applications on a rolling basis. So it's a very fluid process. We have admission counselors who work with candidates by different territories. They come to high schools. They've likely been in touch with guidance counselors at the high schools all fall, maybe even interacted with students at virtual high school fairs and virtual visits and panels. So we maintain a very personalized process to the admissions role, and we certainly look forward to working with you and the candidates and you as a family throughout the entire process.
So one of the things that I know a lot of people are curious about, again, is hearing back. A lot of questions that we get sometimes is, I submitted my application for Early Action 2 on November 1st. What will the deadline be, or excuse me, the response date be from the university for those students?
Yeah, so just to review quickly, for early decision, the binding application, for those of you who are applying by tomorrow, we will notify all candidates by December 15th. For those of you applying Early Action 1, the deadline is December 15th, and we notify all candidates by the end of January. And for those of you applying Early Action 2, the deadline is February 1st, and we notify all candidates by February 15th.
Now, one other quick question a lot of people want to know is that, because of the pandemic, a lot of students have not been able to take a standardized test, whether the SAT or the ACT. The university has been test optional for many years, but can you talk a little bit about the expectation about the standardized test scores as part of the admissions process?
Absolutely. There is none. As Rob mentioned, we are a test optional institution. So we are a Common App school. So incoming freshmen typically apply with the Common App. Incoming transfers also have the option of applying through the Common App, and we also have a separate transfer application as well. But we are completely test optional. So we simply look for the high school transcript. We require one letter of recommendation, typically from a guidance counselor. And then, of course, candidates are welcome to supply an additional letter from a non-relative. And we do recommend an interview with an admissions counselor, but it's not required unless you're applying early decision for the binding application. But standardized test scores play no role in our decision making.
Okay. All right. So there are several 100 of you watching tonight, and that is such a pleasure to be with you tonight. And we're going to get to as many questions as we can. We're going to try to lump some of the questions together based on topics so that we can get the most information to you tonight. And as we're sticking to the admissions process that we just talked about with Pam, hand in hand with the admissions process is the financial aid process, which I know a lot of you have questions about. And this is going to play a big role into many decisions over the next coming months, as this has been a difficult year for many people. But we're here to work with all of you through this process, especially with our student financial assistance team. So I do want to go to Julie Savino, our executive director, one more time this evening. And Julie, can you talk a little bit about first the forms that are required for those students that are seeking financial assistance from the university?
Okay, thank you, Rob. That's really a good question, and that's really where people need to start the process right now. we require 2 applications. We require the CSS profile, which is the College Scholarship Service, which is a form that is, in addition, is part of the College Board. So for those families that are already familiar with the College Board websites, you'll find that application available there too. In addition to that, we'll also require for federal and state funding, the FAFSA form. That's the free application for federal student aid. As Pam mentioned, our application deadlines for both of those applications will align to our admission deadlines. So for early decision, we will want our applications in, obviously, by tomorrow. For early action 2, we'll be looking for December 15th. And for the other applications for early action 2 and beyond, we'll be looking for the February 15th, which is the primary deadline for our students for those applications. But those are the 2 we require, and we hope that families pays particular attention to those.
And Julie, what kind of scholarships are available from Sacred Heart for students applying for admission to the university?
Well, the university offers a large range of scholarships. You don't need a separate application for those. We will look specifically at your admissions requirements. So from your characteristics on your application for admission. So we'll do the analysis for that, for the scholarships, for our academic scholarships and our merit-based scholarships. We have other types of merit-based financial assistance as well, based on participation, whether it's in the performing arts, whether it's in community service, in leadership. We have need-based financial assistance. We have a variety of other types of financial aid that are actually donor-driven. Many of those are aligned with the students' academic programs. So it could be based on their major, whether they're a business major, whether they're in a media studies program, whether they're in, any one of the number of majors that we have as well. So students can receive scholarships from a number of sources and combine them all together. Just our institutional aid, in addition to our need-based aid, this past year, our average institutional aid award to our students was $18,500. And our merit-based scholarship range from $8,000 to almost $22,000 for our students. Beyond that, when students can combine multiple types of scholarships, because they're very aggressive, and once they're actually on campus, they can receive all kinds of other types of financial assistance, even if they choose to be a resident assistant in their sophomore, junior, or senior year, if they're lucky to be accepted for that. So we actually have students that receive grants that actually range up to $60,000 a year. So the university does a lot to help recognize the academic talents and skills and interests of our students through our financial assistance program.
Thank you, Julie. And Pam, as we're talking about the merit scholarship, families who are going to be applying this year, who will look to hear back in the next coming months, want to know when they'll find out about that. So when will the scholarship information be given to those students that are accepted for the class of 2025?
Absolutely, Rob. So you actually learn of the merit award right with your decision letter. So in with your acceptance packet will also include the merit award that the candidate is eligible for, and we determine that award pretty much solely based on GPA.
All right. One question that's a hot topic tonight that I think a lot of people will be wondering about is about housing at Sacred Heart University. So I'd like to bring in our Dean of Students at Sacred Heart, Larry Wilk, to talk a little bit about the housing process, coming in as a first-year student and what options are available, and then also the housing throughout the 4 years, if he can answer that in a few words or less, but knowing Larry, he probably can't. So we'll go on to there.
Well, we have a lot of resident halls, Rob, so it'll take me a while to go through them. Everyone else can sit back and relax for a few minutes. Actually, this class is coming in at really what is probably the most optimum time in the history of the university. When we get back from break after this fall semester, we'll be opening up 2 new resident halls in our upper quad, and then come next September, we'll be opening up a third new resident hall at upper quad. So that'll round out all of our latest construction projects that we've had over the last 5 years on campus, and it's going to be adding about 900 beds to our campus population. So, beginning with first year residents into their sophomore year and upper class years, the housing is going to be much more plentiful for our resident students. In the freshman year, we have a variety of different resident halls. For next year, we will have 5 of our halls that will be available to our first year resident class. Seton and Merton Hall, which are kind of our more traditional double loaded corridor style resident hall, will house about 700 of our incoming freshmen. We'll then have Roncalli Hall, which is a suite style hall located across the street from the main campus. It's a 10-story high rise. And then 2 of our newest first year resident halls, Bergoglio and Toussaint Halls, will be also housing incoming freshmen. They are both suite style resident halls. Typically, Toussaint and Bergoglio are the housing that we allot to our honor students, and Roncalli Hall is often used as our living learning communities. So we it can spread students out throughout campus. As a result of COVID considerations this year, we've greatly reduced our triples on campus, and we may be even doing that a little bit more next year. So that's good news for incoming freshmen. And those of you who have your applications in, or at least will get them in the next 5 hours, and who are accepted from that pool, will be guaranteed a double coming in for next year. As we move into our sophomore year, as I mentioned, that upper quad that we're just completing, the 3 halls plus 2 new ones that opened up this past January, will be available for sophomores, as well as one of our apartment style facilities called Scholars Commons, and another suite style building called Christian Witness Commons. So those facilities are all on our main campus proper, and will be where our first and second year students will be housed next year and hopefully for years to come. We have a couple of other facilities that are within a quarter mile off campus, and that's our junior and senior housing, and those are all apartment style resident halls. So that's a quick snapshot of what we have. And as I said, I think this group of students is coming in at an opportune time.
All right. Thank you, Larry. For the parents that are out there, I know one of the biggest questions as you're getting ready to make a financial commitment to a university, especially Sacred Heart, is the first and foremost reason why your students are coming here is the education and the experience in the classroom. And Sacred Heart University has over 80 academic programs at the levels of a major, minor, and concentration, spread across 6 academic colleges and 3 schools in a variety of different areas. And the university has many claims to fame as far as academic programs. And that is something that is very special to us because we give our students the broadband opportunity to not only pick a major that they want, but also involve themselves in other programs as far as double majors and minors and whatnot. I'd like to bring in our academic liaison tonight, the Assistant Dean for the College of Arts and Sciences, Dr. Amanda Mraz, who is going to talk a little bit about first the academic experience as a freshman coming into Sacred Heart and how a student can help make that transition from their high school academics into the collegiate classroom. And I'll defer now to Amanda.
Hi, thank you again for having me. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what that first year academic experience looks like. And then I want to really center my comments around student success in that transition. So first, as students start college, I guess one of the things I always point out is that if a student is undecided, that is no problem. Any stress or anxiety around being undecided should really just be let go of immediately. We actually have a number of programs designed to very specifically and purposefully support our undecided students. We pair them with advisors meant to advise our undecided undergraduate students. We work with our career services program to help our students connect their passions with academic majors and professional paths. So So being undecided is actually, in many regards, a total non-issue when you're starting college, although it feels really meaningful. I think when you're 18 and everybody keeps asking you at Thanksgiving, maybe less people this year, what you're majoring in. That first year academic experience largely looks pretty similar across the board for students. Most of our students are spending a lot of time in those foundational core courses and then taking a few courses as introductions to their majors. Now, that might be concerning for some students who think, I just really want to jump into my major courses. But what we do know is actually that that foundation in the liberal arts makes them better students generally. Being able to write, being able to think critically, being a dynamic thinker are all meaningful skills and skills that are actually rewarded in the workplace. So students that have that liberal arts foundation are promoted more quickly, they make more money, they have lower rates of unemployment in later career. So we actually know that while that's not necessarily why we value the liberal arts, there is a very specific material reward of that as well. In terms of that transition to college, I think for most students, it's pretty seamless. There's a lot of kind of talk about college being a sink or swim environment. I don't know really who perpetuates that myth, but it is not true. At least it's not true at Sacred Heart. We understand that deciding on a university is a huge commitment for your families. We understand that it's a huge commitment for our students, and it's also a huge financial commitment. And we also know that that first semester is a time where students are trying to figure out exactly what works for them in terms of study habits in an environment that is much different than high school. So we know that while, for instance, in high school, students might spend 35 hours a day in the school building in normal years, what happens at the college level is at most students are really in class 15 hours a week. So that means that there's a lot of self directed time. But where I say that the vast majority of our students make that transition really well and really seamlessly is that we provide a lot of supportive kind of safety nets in place. We do things at the structural level where we have various types of midterm warnings, and our students are advised by full-time faculty members, many of whom are actually also their professors in their first year courses, so that if a student is struggling with that experience, we know quickly. We don't want a family to end up having a first semester GPA, and that's when we find out there was a problem, right? So we have lots of sort of, like I said, safety nets in place to find or to catch a student when they're struggling and to try to address that, whether that be through advising. Sometimes that's through working with Larry's team and kind of connecting with the RA. And there's a tough living experience that is, of course, affecting their learning experience. So this is really where I say we're not a sink or swim kind of place, because what we know is that what happens in the classroom is not the only thing that our students are experiencing. And I mean, we know that better than we've ever known that before now. But the good thing is we were already there. We were already really catering to the whole person as a university with our students. So we work really well with all of our colleagues across the university to make sure that we're all in touch, so we know that when a student is struggling in one realm, that can impact their academics, and that we can work together to get them in a good place.
All right. Thank you so much, Amanda. One of the questions that we're getting in now from our viewers tonight is tending to pivot towards the nursing program and the competitiveness of that program. For those of you who are interested in nursing, as you know, you're looking at other universities as well, most likely. Nursing tends to be a very competitive program. So we'll quickly just talk to Pam about the competitiveness of the nursing program in the application process and a little bit more about the program here.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Rob. Thank you for the question. Our nursing program is quite competitive. Our acceptance rate is about 40%, specifically for the nursing program. Just a reminder again, the application deadline, if you are interested in nursing, is December 15th. I encourage anyone who is interested in our nursing program to pursue admission and to submit their application. It is a direct entry program for incoming freshmen. And it's just a tremendous preparation program. Obviously, COVID 19 has taught us the value of first responders, specifically our healthcare professionals. So the career outlook is quite strong. Our network is quite strong. I encourage everyone to take a virtual tour of our Center for Healthcare Education. If you haven't had the opportunity to visit campus, it is a state-of-the-art facility with tremendous simulations, labs, hands-on learning. We truly prepare candidates for the field of nursing specifically. The building itself is actually designed by engineers who designed hospitals. So its layout provides candidates with a very familiar approach to what they will be doing day to day in their careers. And our preparation for nursing students to sit for the NCLEX exam, which is the exam required in order to become an RN, to earn your RN license. Our pass rate is extremely successful. I think most recently we have a 99% pass rate, which is one of the best in the state, especially among private institutions. We lead private institutions. So our nursing program is competitive, but it's well worth it. I encourage your application, and we're happy to answer any additional questions that come along.
Many people tonight are asking about visits to campus. We were very lucky during this past semester to be able to offer visits on campus for prospective students and their families. And we are offering prospective student tours through mid-December. You can visit our visit planner page at sacredheart.edu to learn more about those. We also are offering additional virtual opportunities to connect with our university, and those are also listed there. And then we will continue our on-campus visits, hopefully as of today, beginning in our early January. And that information will be on our website in the coming weeks for those of you who would like to come to campus. And you definitely need to experience this campus to understand how special a place that Sacred Heart University truly is. One question I'd like to go back regarding financial aid to our Executive Director of Student Financial Assistance, Julie Savino. Julie, I have two quick questions for you. One of the questions is, can you talk a little bit about the appeal process for students that may look for more or additional aid once they receive their financial aid package from Sacred Heart? And then secondly, for those students that that are accepted early decision, what is the process for them if we cannot meet their need?
Okay. The appeal process. Well, it's a very common part of the financial aid process today. Many colleges and universities do the best that they can to meet the financial needs of their students and families. But in fact, the need is just so vast that most of us do not have enough money, except for a few select colleges across the nation, to help meet that need 100%. We actually value our appeal process in a number of ways. Number one, first, for the family to come forward with any special circumstances that may not be actually listed on the CSS profile or on the FAFSA. So it gives us an opportunity to get to know you. It's not necessarily just kind of a cookie cutter process, even though we do require a form, which you will find on our website in order to help begin that dialogue. But we'd like to be able to work with each and every one of our families individually to see where the students are, where the parents are, and to be able to discuss what all the multiple options are, whether it be merit-based aid, need-based aid, grants, loans, work-study programs, and any other options that we have. The staff that I have in the office are absolutely wonderful people. They're heartfelt. They're right there. They're very knowledgeable. They're very committed to working with the families on an individual basis. So you will find, parents will find through the appeal process, you will have an individual that will be assigned to you based on the last letter, your last name, and they will follow you through the process, not just through the recruitment process and the admissions process, but will be there for you over the next few years. So I think the appeal process is a good one, which opens up the dialogue and helps us to make the reality of being at Sacred Heart, really a solid one for the families. When it comes to early decision, we do the best that we can in that process to actually meet the needs of those families, but we simply can't do that. We try to do that a little bit better than in our regular application processes in early action or in the regular admissions process, but we simply can't always fill that gap. We will try to do what we can with you. The appeal process isn't a matter in early decision to be negotiating against one institution versus another, which oftentimes the appeal process tends to be that for early action and early decision. But we will try to hone in as best we can to make available whatever options we can to be able to draw us close to that, to what the family can afford, to be able to make that a reality.
All right.
Does that help,
Thank-
Rob,
Yes, it
or do you think we need a little
certainly
bit more?
does, Julie. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Over the last 8 months, as you know, our worlds have all been kind of turned upside down, and we've had to think about different things and new ways and adapt to new processes, and that's certainly been the case here at Sacred Heart. And we have gone through a lot of changes and a lot of new experiences, not only for our students, but our faculty and staff as well. And kind of leading the charge on a lot of this has been our Executive Director of Public Safety and Government Affairs here at Sacred Heart, Gary McNamara. And Gary, we've actually had a lot of questions tonight regarding what the university has done as far as its steps to address the COVID-19 pandemic on campus and how we can and how the university adapted to it. So can you talk a little bit about what was in place this semester as far as making sure that all the university community remains safe?
Really good questions.
There we go.
Thank you, Rob. And it is really, those are important questions. And we knew that people have a lot of concerns and there is a lot of unknowns. But, I come from a law enforcement background. I was the former chief in the Fairfield Police Department. And I always looked at Sacred Heart before I came here as a very resilient organization, very dedicated to the students' needs, and very adaptable. And I've seen that since I've been here the last 2 years. And COVID presented obvious challenges for all of us. But Sacred Heart, in many ways, was the leader in the area with making some of the tough decisions. Unfortunately, early in last spring, we made the decision to go online and send people home. Obviously, that was a tough decision to make, but we know that other people followed suit. And early then, we really have not stopped our approach to COVID and to the response to COVID. So our approach has been in these three ways. The first significant way was infrastructure. Over the last several months, prior to people coming back in the fall here, and I should say I'm also, most importantly, the father of a Sacred Heart student, a sophomore on campus, we looked at infrastructure. We made modifications to our infrastructure. We have a lot of safety steps in place with regards to access, but we also made those infrastructure steps to make it safer and more COVID compliant, working with our state health partners. And those are similar to some of the steps that you would look at if you go to a supermarket or a library or a shopping center. So we've made those modifications. We also modified our approach to some of our dorm life. As Dean Wilk had mentioned, we cut back some of our capacity within our dorms, and we modified our infrastructure in our classrooms from an infrastructure perspective. We also looked at it from a hygiene perspective. And what I mean by hygiene is our PPEs, our hand sanitizers, our education of staff, faculty, and students, and frankly, parents as well, as to what we're doing. So we made readily available to every student when they came back this September their own personal bottle of sanitizer. Now, it might not seem like a lot, but it certainly is. We wanted to make sure that at any moment everybody had that ability. We also provided every student with 2 masks, reusable masks, and at the same time offer surgical masks, disposable surgical masks if they need them. We also implemented steps towards social distancing. And likewise, the mission of the university is to educate people, and we adapted from our model of educating. So we looked at a shoe flex model, meaning that we know there may be times that we may have to go online to address some of the issues related to COVID. So we adapted our educational format, made modifications inside the classroom. So virtually all classrooms can be done on ground, or virtually, based upon the modifications we made. In addition to that, we we test. Now, our testing procedure, we tested early on when students came back to campus to make sure that they came back with a negative test. And then we test randomly asymptomatic students year round or semester round. This semester, we've tested about 50% of our student capacity weekly. So 50%. So basically, once a month, all of our students will be tested. In addition to that, we made modifications to our capacity to isolate or quarantine students if, in fact, they became positive. We are very fortunate. We have a health services division on campus. So the doctor in charge of health services coordinated and worked not only with Res Life, public safety, but frankly, everybody to not only address on an ongoing basis some of the communication that we needed, but also help to coordinate a lot of our testing procedures. This spring, we're looking to increase our testing capacity like we've been doing in the past and are still working towards what our opening day would look like. I know we're shooting for February 1st. It is our hope and our belief that come February 1st, we will be on ground, fully staffed and ready to go for a full semester on ground.
All right. Thank you so much, Gary. And, hats off to our coronavirus planning committee, as well as our public safety and all those on campus who have helped keep us all safe. And that really just shows what Gary just talked about, the caring aspect of this university. And I think you talk to any current student and parent and what they have endured over the last 8 months, I think they'll be very positive in the remarks about Sacred Heart University. And that's something that's very important to, I know, a lot of you watching tonight. I'm going to go back to our Dean of Students, Larry Wilk. Larry, I have a couple quick questions for you. One of which is talk a little bit about the housing one more time. You had mentioned that with the new buildings opening up on the upper quad that we're going to be adding 900 additional beds. Does that necessarily mean an increase in the size of the university's population?
Incrementally over the last 5 years. With 250 coming online last January, a couple of hundred coming online again next month, and then another 150 in September. So it's been incremental, and it's been planned for us to have more students living on campus amongst our class. We're not looking to necessarily grow our population overall as much as we're looking to grow our residential population overall, provide more housing available, not just for the first and second year students, but for our junior and senior year as well. So it's not predicated as much on growth of the university, but just having a more vibrant campus life, where once we get back to what will be hopefully normal at some point soon, when we have activities on campus, we just have more students who are just there, living there on campus to take part in those.
All right. On another topic, a lot of parents are asking tonight about the transition for their students into Sacred Heart. Now, Amanda had talked earlier about the academic transition, but as part of your experience as the Dean of Students in the Student Life Office, looking at that first year experience program that we have established over the last few years, can you talk a little bit about that and what students and parents can anticipate with our assisting them in the transition into Sacred Heart?
Sure. And before we even get into the first year experience program, let me kind of backtrack it a little bit to the summer. Typically in the first couple of weeks of June, we have our new student orientation on campus. This past year, we nimbly moved to have a virtual orientation, and we had 8 days of that, where basically our entire incoming class attended, as well as over 1,000, I think 1,500 of our parents attended sessions as well. It's my hope that as things progress this coming year, we can be back on campus this summer with orientation, maybe not overnight as we've done in the past, but having maybe a one-day orientation, again, spread out over 8 days for the incoming class. Experiencing orientation is a tremendous asset towards making that transition to college, but doing it in person and having the opportunity to meet a couple of hundred of your incoming classmates is really critical to students kind of just feeling comfortable when they do come back in late August. We then, when students do move in late August, have another series of programs over what we call Welcome Weekend. And it's 3 days again where students get kind of like what would be part two of orientation. They have some social activities. More importantly, on the Sunday before classes start, they have a couple of sessions with our academic community, as well as then that transition to the first year experience program begins. We typically have a speaker named James Rodolata who speaks to the incoming class on that Sunday, and then we break out into our first year experience classes. First year experience is a 8-week program, actually 10-week program this year that runs from that welcome weekend through late October. And it is a series of classes and topics kind of put in place to help students make that transition to college. Talk about them gaining some confidence in themselves. If they're resident students, navigating their way through residential life, living with other students for the first time. 99% of our incoming resident students are probably sharing a bedroom with someone for the first time, maybe ever, or certainly in a long time. It allows our commuters to kind of get engaged a little bit with some of their resident counterparts in a more relaxing atmosphere in the classroom to, again, connect and make some friends on campus. Among some of the other topics that we'll talk about will be time management, study skills, and just a variety of things that you would need to be successful in college. And then as we get to the latter parts of that FYE class, we begin transitioning somewhat of a handoff, if you will, to the academic advisors, in that as we are at that point in the semester beginning to talk about registering for the next semester. So the FYE instructors are primarily members of our student affairs team, but some other professionals from around campus. As Amanda alluded to earlier, we work in tandem with the academic affairs staff throughout the early parts of the semester. If a student presents to their FYE instructor that maybe they're experiencing some academic issues, the instructor will reach out to the academic advisor and get in motion whatever is needed for tutoring or any type of assistance like that. In addition, every FYE instructor works with a student who is one of the orientation leaders that becomes an FYE assistant to that class. So you have the FYE instructor and the student working directly with the students in the classroom. And the classes are about 25 per section. This past semester, we had close to 70 sections, and I believe 65 of them were on ground, and 5 of them catered to those incoming freshmen who opted to stay online for the semester. So it's a nice way for students to ease into college life, to get some experience, to learn about what campus is all about, what activities they can get involved in, and feel that that much more comfortable, not only as freshmen, but as they move forward in the coming years, because those FYE instructors, while the class may end in October, the connectivity never ends, oftentimes even long after the students graduate.
Thank you so much, Larry, for that. Quick question that we're getting from a few of our viewers tonight has to do with, how do I meet my admissions counselor? And as Pam alluded to at the beginning, all of you are assigned an admissions counselor based on the geographical area of your high school. And we're going to throw up the website for you, for those of you to go on and meet your admissions counselor. That website is sacredheart.edu/staff. And this is a website you can go to, find out who your admissions counselor is, and we strongly encourage you to send them an email to introduce yourself and to begin that open line of communication, because they're the ones that are going to be working with you through the process here, as well as reviewing your application. So that is a great tool, that website, sacredheart.edu/staff, to go on and meet your admissions counselor. I want to go back to Julie Savino one more time, our Executive Director of Student Financial Assistance. Julie, we're getting some questions about students who have submitted their both their CSS profile and or FAFSA. And it's saying that on their portal here that it has not been received, or it's not checked off yet. Is there a little bit of lag in that? A lot of families want to know. And then does that inhibit them from receiving any kind of scholarship?
Okay. Actually, for the academic year 21-22, we are just now beginning to have received through the CSS profile and through the federal government the actual forms that you have already filed. We've just starting to receive them into our system, and our actual portal called SHU Awards for the year 21-22 is not operational yet. That will actually be up as soon as we begin submitting the early decision awards for our students. So at this point in time, if a family has already submitted those documents, either through the CSS or through the FAFSA, we may likely already have it. It's just we are not able to give you viewing access to that right at this very moment. I would expect that by mid-December, that will be fully operational and families will be able to see all of that as well once you are accepted. Once you're accepted for admission and we have that ability to do that. Now, all families can receive a notification either through the CSS profile or the FAFSA that Sacred Heart has been included as one of the institutions. And I think you should be rest assured right now, if they've responded to you, that Sacred Heart, which will come with our school code for 3780 for the CSS profile and 001403 for the FAFSA, then you should be rest assured that we are receiving that document. Certainly, if families are concerned that we haven't received that, there's no harm in calling the office and actually asking one of the receptionists or the people that we have answering our main line to look that information up for you right now. Our deadlines are specifically assigned to the populations that we are trying to serve first the early decision, then the early action, and then all others. While Pam already mentioned you'll receive your merit-based award letter with your acceptance, the award letters that include federal, state, and institutional financial aid will follow shortly thereafter. We will begin sending all of those out around mid-January, and will continue to proceed as students are accepted for those as well. That will include everything with complete access to SHU Awards online. So,
Julie,
Rob, does that help answer that question?
I
or
think
did
it
you have any
does.
other follow-ups? Okay,
No, I think
good.
that's great. Thank you.
Okay.
We're going to go back to the academic side for a few moments here. And I know a lot of you are sending specific questions tonight about specific academic programs. And unfortunately, because of our time constraints tonight, we're not going to be able to get to all those. However, that's a perfect opportunity to plug that you should reach out to our admissions office, because we do like that personalized attention in getting those questions answered. And we'd certainly like to chat with you or your students about any questions you have about the academic programs here at Sacred Heart. But more on a general basis, I do want to go back to Amanda Mraz, who's, again, the Assistant Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. And Amanda, I have 3 quick questions for you. And one is, can you talk a little bit about the advisor-student relationships during the 4 years here and how available advisors are to their students?
Sure. So we actually advise in a few different ways, which is kind of exciting. So one of the things we do is all students are assigned what we call a freshman advisor. And we do this because we know that first year students have very specific needs, and that we want them to work with faculty who are well versed in dealing with the kind of depth and breadth of those needs. Even students who come in very decided, and if you have those very specific questions about academic majors, you can even reach out to me and I can get you in touch with folks. I'm glad to speak to some of those. But that even for students who are very decided, they might know that they're interested in this one field, but then also be interested in law school. And we want to make sure that that person who's advising them knows how to connect them with the person who's going to be helpful for getting into law school or with our pre-health program. So ultimately, those freshman advisors are there either because they're really well versed in that student's major, they are a faculty member in that student's major, or because for our undecided students, they can answer questions about or guide students in the context of many different majors, right? And then a lot of what we're also just doing that first semester is connecting students with some of the folks, like I mentioned, pre-law, pre-health advising, because for some of these grad programs that our students are applying to, we really want to start helping them be competitive for those programs from day one. So we start that really early on. When a student declares their major, then we generally transition them to a major advisor. And we really view that as a strength because the idea there is then that a student has a meaningful relationship with several faculty members at that point, right? The people who they've encountered in their freshman advising as their freshman advisor, they have the folks who they've engaged with and their FYE programs, as we mentioned, as Larry mentioned, and then also now they're transitioning to their major and they're meeting the faculty across their major. We really value getting students involved in these hands-on experiences very early on. We find that those are the experiences that really set our students apart from others when they're applying to grad school, when they're entering their first job. It's that hands-on problem solving that really separates our students. So that's generally what our academic advising program looks like. There's some nuances when it comes to particular programs. Some of our grad programs, you would come in already, you have this conditional acceptance. So there's lots of sort of nuances there that I could speak to. But generally speaking, all students are given a freshman advisor, and then we then transition them to a major advisor sometime towards the end of that first semester, beginning of their second semester, for those who are decided. For those who are not, they just kind of hang out with that first year advisor. And we do all of those things that I mentioned before to make sure that that student is finding a way that their passion is translating to an academic program.
Thank you, Mina. Next question, very quickly, is talk a little bit about assistance for students that are looking for some academic success push during their time here, especially freshman year, especially in testing or students that may be coming in with accommodations.
Absolutely. So we work really closely with our Student Success Center. I absolutely urge you to reach out to the director of our Student Success Center with any specific questions about accommodations. Obviously, we work very closely with our families to make sure that our students have what they need. What we also know is that sometimes students aren't always great at asking. Some students are really great at asking for what they need, but some students don't, and we don't want to find out too late or after things start to slip that they needed something that we weren't providing. So we try to get a lot of those things set up before the student even arrives on campus and work with the families to do so, in addition to just generally trying to make sure that all of our education is accessible. We have a variety of tutoring options. We have online tutoring, we have in-person tutoring. Many of our tutors are actually also people with terminal degrees in their field. So we actually hire, for instance, some of our part-time faculty members to tutor. So the people who tutor chemistry in many cases are actually also the people who teach chemistry. We have a full writing center with writing staff who read drafts of papers, who offer really substantive feedback to our students. And all of this is obviously included in tuition. So we're really urging students at any point to reach out to their faculty members directly, but then also in addition to access the Student Success Center that coordinates all of our tutoring, whether it be virtual or on ground, our writing center, and any other types of concerns and supports needed to provide an accessible learning experience for our students.
All right. And one additional question, Amanda, which is something that's really dear and near to our hearts here at Sacred Heart, is the study abroad options that the university offers. So can you quickly talk about the study abroad experiences and where students hopefully eventually will be able to
Mhm.
travel the world again and use the global classroom towards their advantage here?
Yes, and we're really looking forward to that. I personally am really deeply connected to our Dingle program. I've actually taught in our Dingle program before. I really love Dingle. But we actually have various study abroad experiences around the world. I mean, almost too many to mention. If you dream it, we can make it happen. But we also have our own campuses in a few different places, particularly in Dingle and Luxembourg. So all of our academic programs, without exception, I want to make that really clear, without exception, are set up to allow students to study abroad. that study abroad can look different for students. Some students would choose to study abroad for a full semester, but what we find is actually more popular for our students is that they'd like to study abroad in these 2-week and 4-week periods. In some of those circumstances, we have faculty members in the receiving country who are teaching our students. In other versions of that, we have faculty who are lucky enough, like me, to travel with our students and to use Dingle, for instance, as our classroom. To cover, we actually did a sociology course on modern Ireland. So there's lots of opportunities to study abroad. Julie can talk more about this, but generally speaking, your loans and aid packages are portable in the sense that they can also be applied to study abroad experiences through Sacred Heart. So our academic programs work to be as dynamic as possible to allow for that kind of global learning, which we know makes our students, again, just more well-rounded people, but also just better students and better global citizens.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. So we are just a little bit less than 10 minutes left in our chat tonight. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a lightning round to try to get as many questions answered as possible. So we're going to ask our panelists to try to give a concise answer so that we can get through as many questions as we can. First, I'm going to go back to Larry Wilk, our Dean of Students. And Larry, questions tonight. I know we have a phenomenal dining program here. I think looking at me, you can see that the dining is great. But can you talk a little bit about accommodations as far as allergies and things of that nature that our shoe dining can accommodate?
Willing and able to work with students to accommodate their needs. And certainly students with allergies and various gluten-free needs in recent years have increased. And as a result, the dining services will go out of their way. They will meet one-on-one with each of those students to map out a plan for their dietary needs, and they will work with them from freshman year all the way to graduation.
All right. And Larry, while we also have you here, can you talk a little bit about the club sports program and is um, a tryout necessary for those teams, and how can a student express their interest in the club sports?
So, club sports at Sacred Heart is a growing program. We have 34 programs in place this year. Um, it is, I'd like to say it's somewhere between uh, high school level of play, varsity level of play, and maybe Division III at the college level. So it offers students an opportunity to continue playing in their sport, to come to Sacred Heart if they're not of, say, Division I caliber, to be able to play in our Division I athletic programs. 99% of the teams do not require a tryout. Hockey, men's hockey, for example, is one of those that we do have tryouts for, but those tryouts are basically to determine, we have two teams, an A team and a B team. They both play in separate leagues and they play 25 to 30 game schedules. Similarly, this coming spring, we're going to be doing that with our women's softball. So again, there'll be tryouts for placement on whichever of the rosters that you'll be on. But otherwise, tryouts are not necessary, and we take all comers, those who played at the high school level and those who are interested in playing.
Thank you, Larry. We're going to go back to Julie very quickly. Julie, again, getting several questions tonight about both the CSS profile and the FAFSA. Are both of those forms required in order for a student to be accepted to Sacred Heart?
To be accepted to Sacred Heart, they are required. The CSS profile is for Sacred Heart University need-based financial assistance and work study programs, and many of our need-based programs that might be donor-driven. So that's why that form is required of our first-year students. It's not required for year 2, 3, or 4. So we use it as a basis to determine eligibility for our students just coming in as a first-year student. So yes, that we do require that particular form. The FAFSA is required for any federal or state financial assistance. So if a student wanted to borrow a grant, wanted to borrow under the federal loan programs or receive a federal or state grant or a work study program, they would need to submit that application as well.
All right. Pam, can you talk quickly about the admissions criteria for the honors program?
Sure, absolutely. In general, honors candidates typically present to us at least a 3.8 high school GPA. And usually they take an advanced curriculum. So they're taking 10 or more honors, AP, maybe dual enrollment classes. Um, that's the general criteria for our honors profile.
And there's no additional application upon initial application to the university the student will need to complete in order to apply for the honors program, correct?
That is correct. No additional application. We consider an honors candidate upon review of the common application.
All right. We're going to go back to Gary McNamara, our Executive Director of Public Safety. Gary, can you talk a little bit about the overall safety experience very quickly at Sacred Heart and how we best protect?
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Yeah, I think the number one thing is we look at it as we're part of the community. We provide 24-hour, 7-day-a-week service to our students, and we partner with our local and federal and state public safety partners, both on the fire level, the EMS level, as well as the police level. And we really look at our role as being partners in the safety of all of our students. We do new employee orientation. We offer personal safety escorts for students who are leaving the library late. We do a new student orientation. We have the traditional blue light boxes throughout campus, and we do emergency notification. So we'll send out emergency notifications. And I think the other important thing to note is that we as an entire university are very communicative. Take COVID for an example of it. We communicated to students and parents on a weekly basis, oftentimes twice a week, providing them with accurate, transparent information as to what we're doing, how we're engaging the students, and how we're treating those students that did become infected, and how we comforted them while they recovered and moved back into the university.
All right. And Larry, we're going to go back to Larry Wilk, our Dean of Students, very quickly. Larry, could you talk a little bit about the transportation for students who are residents beginning their freshman year, as they are not allowed to have their cars, and talk a little bit about how students will be able to get around.
So we do have a campus shuttle system that not only transports students from our various resident areas that are off campus to campus, but transports students from various academic areas around campus. So our hub is located on our main campus right in front of the entrance to the Edgerton Theater. And from there, the buses will leave on the hour and run routes to either the resident halls, to our Center for Health Education, to West Campus, where many of our College of Business students are, as well as a couple of off-campus routes that run throughout the course of the year. We have one that runs to the mall and to a local shopping area on Main Street in Bridgeport, where students can do some grocery shopping. We've had to curtail that a bit this year, that route, because of COVID concerns. But in good times, it runs and allows students that ability to get off campus. We also have a shuttle that runs 7 days a week down to the Bridgeport Transit Center, where students can get on the Metro North or Amtrak train if they need to, for either going home, or a lot of our students who are in internships in Stanford and New York will use it to commute to those areas. But also at the transit center there is the ferry to Long Island, to Port Jeff. So it allows a lot of our students to travel back and forth across to the island without having to cut through New York City in that traffic. Oftentimes, a number of our athletic teams will put their bus on the ferry to travel over to the island to play games and come back. So it makes for a nice leisurely travel for them. And then in addition, on weekends, we will run special shuttles to various places, sometimes to the local cinema, sometimes to the outlets up in Clinton, downtown Fairfield. So we tend to mix it up so that students can have that off-campus experience, but under kind of the auspices of the university.
All right. Thank you. And with that, we're going to begin to wrap up our chat tonight. We had over 1,200 prospective parents and students joining us this evening, and that is really a testament to your curiosity and passion for learning more about Sacred Heart. And we certainly appreciate your time and your enthusiasm for joining us tonight. We do want to thank our panelists once again, our Executive Director of Undergraduate Admissions, Pam Pillow, our Executive Director of Public Safety, Gary McNamara, our Dean of Students, Larry Wilk, our Assistant Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, Dr. Amanda Merez, and our Executive Director of Student Financial Assistance, Julie Savino. Once again, we also have our 3 deadlines coming up for this year for the class of 2025. We have tomorrow, December 1st, which is early decision, that binding agreement. Then we also have December 15th, which is early action 1, as well as the priority deadline for the Davis and Henley College of Nursing. And then finally, we have our final deadline of early action 2, which is February 1st. For those of you watching tonight who are also interested in transferring to Sacred Heart this coming year, we encourage you to reach out to our office to talk about those processes and the dates that are important to you. Our office is fully staffed with admissions counselors and staff Monday through Friday and able to answer emails over the weekend. So please do not hesitate to reach out to our office either by phone or by email to help answer those questions so that we can get you on the right track to become a future pioneer. On behalf of all of us here at Sacred Heart University, thank you so much for taking time to join us. Have a wonderful evening and stay safe, stay well, and happy holidays to all of you. Good night.
Thank you for joining tonight's virtual parent chat. To learn more, visit sacredheart.edu.